Now, once I really started planning, baby, that's it. That's where I was fighting. The resistance came up. I'm just sitting there on my phone, scrolling, looking at flights, looking at location. Hello, I'm Solo. Welcome back to Solo Sanctuaries, the space where women learn to choose themselves, trust their inner voice, and transform on the deepest levels through intentional solo travel. So I'm doing something different today, y'all. I am inviting you in real time, well, to something that I do not have figured out yet. This is not a trip I already took, but this is one that is still unfolding, literally. I decided to share how my next solo sanctuary is unfolding because it's probably different than you might expect from watching my previous videos. It didn't start with a destination. It didn't start with a time. I mean, it really didn't even start with a plan, but it did start with a knowing. And that's important because that's really all you need to get started. And I want to be honest about something that I don't really think people talk about, or at least I haven't seen it. If you've seen it, drop it in the comments and let me know. Everybody says you need to choose yourself. Neuroscience says definitely, you need to focus on yourself, your body, your energy, your healing, your future, etc. The stewardess on the airplane says what? Put our oxygen mask on first, then we help the children, the elderly, or or anyone else that might need assistance, right? So that's a theme that we're told. Choose yourself first. But what people don't really talk about is, what does that look like? And is that easy or is that hard? And can it be chaotic? And the fact that for me and for a lot of people, it doesn't really necessarily feel empowering at first, especially if it's your first time doing it and you're just like kind of scared, of doing it, or you don't want to feel selfish. You don't want to let anyone down. You want to just keep being that caregiver, that people, I'm not going to say people pleaser because that's viewed negatively, but being that person that puts others' needs first. Right. And as women, we commonly do that. And to some extent, we're expected to. So choosing ourselves can feel uncomfortable at first. It definitely can feel inconvenient, especially I'm asking myself to go ahead and take a trip with no one else. I love to travel. I travel with my family, my spouse, my friends, but I'm cutting all that off and I'm just going to travel just for me. That can feel a little bit inconvenient at first. And sometimes it can even be a little bit annoying. The start of this has been quite annoying and chaotic for me, if I'm going to be honest with you. This trip did not start with excitement. It started with some resistance. But it also started with a clear knowing, and that's really important. I had to keep coming back to that. When I first decided to take this solo sanctuary, it wasn't because anything was wrong. It wasn't because I was in a crisis, no betrayal, no overwork, no burnout. These are all reasons why I have traveled solo in the past. Whether it was I created a sanctuary or not when I got there, but these are reasons why I travel solo. But after a deep meditation in January, I received a message. Something really settled within me that I needed a solo sanctuary for the March equinox. I didn't know the details yet. I didn't know how it would unfold. I didn't know where or even the specific dates, but I was certain enough about it. I let my spouse know, hey, during this time I am going to be traveling. I'm going to be doing a solo sanctuary. Don't really know the dates or the time or anything just yet. But yeah, of course, I just wanted to give her a heads up. And that didn't feel chaotic. That was calm. That was centered. That was like a assurance that I had, right? Like a deep inner knowing. Now, once I really started planning, baby, that's it. That's where I was fighting. The resistance came up. I'm just sitting there on my phone, scrolling, looking at flights, looking at locations, Airbnbs, checking the weather in Cleveland in March, thinking, why would I stay in Cleveland that long? Shout out to Cleveland. It's a nice place. I believe I've been there before. But in March, for like almost a week, why don't I just fly in, do my appointment, and leave? Why don't I go somewhere else, then go to Cleveland, do my appointment, then come home? Clearly, I had a reason to be in Cleveland. I had an appointment, right? And it was like very serendipitous I even got that appointment, because when I had spoken with this office a couple months ago, the first appointment was in June. But here I am with an appointment in March. I'm like, okay, well, clearly that's where I'm supposed to be. So there was a part of me that just was like, well, let me just rush it. Let me just make it efficient. Let me just get in and out. I mean, I had like all these different, oh, maybe I want to go to, let me exotic it a little bit. Let me go to Canada, and then spend some time in Canada, and then I'll come back to. I had so many different combinations of ideas. And then it was like, okay, there was that frantic, worried feeling. I was like, okay, this is the opposite of what I felt when I decided to take a trip, right? It was a calm, it was an inner knowing. This was not that. So that was like kind of the first sign that all these machinations that I was trying to calculate, and I'm good at that, but that was not the move for this trip. So as I settled into the idea that, yeah, I was going to be in Cleveland for like a week in March. And I'm like, okay, part of me felt like embarrassed. Like, what? And that's the thing. Why be embarrassed? I don't even know. It does. Looking back on it now, none of it made any sense. I feel like it was just a little trial period. Do you really want this? Do you really know that this is what you want to do? And I think that's the thing people don't talk about. Well, don't I want something more impressive, right? Especially if I'm gonna talk about it online. Doesn't it need to be, more exotic or more unique, more beautiful? Even though, I mean, I'm not saying Cleveland not beautiful, but I'm saying, like, does it need to include the beach and sand, etc.? And I feel like that's the part people really don't talk about. This moment where choosing ourselves feels awkward. It can feel awkward, and it would just be easier to downplay it. But I want to be real with you, because I see so many women that when they get over that hump and they make that choice to choose themselves and go and create a solo sanctuary, they come back transformed. And I want that for as many women as possible. So I'm willing to be honest and be vulnerable about it. The whole point was not to optimize the trip. The whole point was to choose myself, to create an intentional experience for myself around the equinox, to harness that manifestation energy. The whole point of it was to choose myself before the trip. And what better way to know how much I value myself than to choose something that works for me, despite what anyone else might have to say or think about it. So here's what I'm relearning in real time, that choosing myself happens the moment we decide to take that solo sanctuary trip. It doesn't start when we arrive in some grand hotel to our welcome drink and nice soft breeze, even though I love that. But choosing ourselves doesn't just start when we arrive someplace beautiful. It starts the moment we get the opportunity to choose ourselves, the moment that we are tempted to not do it. It's like a fork in the road. Which way are we gonna go? It's like the blue, was it red? The blue or the red pill, like which one are we gonna take? That's the moment when we choose ourselves. And that starts when we stop minimizing what we want, what we need, when we stop rushing to get back to normal, and when we stop needing it to make sense to anyone else, on even some level to ourselves. I mean, if we're trusting our inner voice, our intuition, it may not make perfect sense at the time, right? And that's the real work. It's not the destination, it's not the logistics, it's not the place where we stay, it's the decision. And it doesn't always feel clean and confident. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes it feels like fear. Sometimes it feels like, why am I even doing this? But that's the threshold that we get to walk through. And that's when things really begin to shift. If this feels familiar, the moment when you know you want something, but you're literally negotiating it down with yourself or someone else, but you could just be doing it with yourself, then you're not alone. And I created solo sanctuaries for you to help you understand what you're seeking before you ever plan a thing. If you need more support, drop down to the link in the comments. Grab your free solo travel guide and sign up for my upcoming Solo Sanctuaries live guided experience, where I walk you through this entire journey from beginning to end, how to plan, take, prepare for, and come back from your solo sanctuary. This trip hasn't even happened yet, and already so much is changing inside of me, because choosing yourself It doesn't start when you leave. It doesn't start at the airport, on the plane, the train, any of that. It starts when you decide to stop backing away from what you know you need. Remember, the journey is always back to you.